tell us about the feeling body archetype?
Well, the feeling body is our name for the archetype that's traditionally been known as the lover. Our feeling body longs to connect. This is the side of us that loves to connect with others, to connect with ourselves and our bodies, to connect with nature, and just to connect with the flow of life. The inner child lives here. This side of us is creative, spontaneous, imaginative. Our sexuality lives here and our sensuality live here. And this side of us can be wild and free. But also, this is a very vulnerable side of us. Our vulnerability lives in this archetype. And indeed, we believe it's important to be able to share your vulnerability if you're going to connect deeply with another person or connect deeply with yourself. The feeling body is the part of us that loves to make connections with other people, loves touch, and loves to form intimate relationships.
So perhaps next you could tell us about the yin and the yang aspects of the feeling body.
The yang aspect of the feeling body is the part of us that wants to look up to spirit and connect to the spirit world, and also to look out and connect with other people and the flow of life that's going on out there. Whereas the yin aspect of the feeling body is the part of us that looks down and wants to make a soul connection. It's the part of us that looks inwards and wants to connect with the life that's flowing through ourselves.
And what is the key emotion for the feeling body?
Well, the key emotion that lies here is grief. It's as if we have to be able to feel our grief in order to access the softness and the vulnerability of this archetype. So we see grief as the key unlocking the door to all aspects of this feeling body archetype. If we lose a connection and don't grieve that loss, then we're not free to go on and form new connections. So our ability to connect can dry up and we can lose access to this feeling body side of ourselves.
And could you tell us about the animal instinct for the feeling body?
Well, there are two instincts that lie here, mating and bonding. And obviously they're closely connected in many ways. The bonding instinct, we believe, is the most primal and deepest and most powerful instinct that we have. When we're born into this world, our very survival depends on bonding with those around us, usually our mother. And similarly, the mating experience is a very powerful one because it is the instinct that keeps our species going. So, as with all of these animal instincts, we believe it's important that we don't put them into shadow and decide that we don't want these aspects for ourselves. It's much more important to take them out and look at them, and that way we get to know these sides of ourselves and gain conscious control over them, and we can choose whether or not then we want to behave in that way. So, for example, if we have sexual attractions that we don't want to have, rather than thinking, I don't want that, and putting it away into shadow, we believe it's better to look at that side of yourself and get to know that in a safe space where there are no real world consequences. And then you can choose, consciously or deliberately, whether you want to act on those instincts or not.
And what conversational patterns are associated with the feeling body?
Well, the feeling body, it won't surprise you to know, is very happy to talk about their feelings. So someone with a healthy feeling body will say, I'm so excited, or I'm just so sad, or I'm really angry. They'll feel comfortable to share these sides of themselves, and they'll expect and assume that they'll be welcomed and accepted by others. Whereas someone wounded in their feeling body will find this hard. So, for example, rather than saying, I feel really frightened, I don't want you to go out tonight, they might say, I don't think you should go out tonight. You've been out every night this week. Because it doesn't feel safe for them to share their real deep emotion.
And what might wound this feeling body energy and cause it to go into shadow?
Well, the message that causes this energy to go into shadow is the message that you're not lovable, or you don't love people in the right way. It's like you can't do this connecting and bonding thing. And we can get this message in childhood if our overtures for love and attention from those around us are rebuffed. Or alternatively, we can get this message if a parent leaves or dies. We can start to believe that perhaps we weren't lovable enough, or there was something wrong with the way that we loved them.
So, what kind of shadows are associated with the feeling body?
Well, if we get this message that, we just can't love in the right way, we're not lovable enough, we're not loving enough, then one option is to inflate and really try and prove how loving we are and how connected we are and how emotional we are. So we can go through a life of lots of drama, moving from one crisis to another, expressing lots and lots of emotion. And this can sometimes not ring quite true for the people around us. And actually, there's some truth in this, in that although we're feeling a lot of emotion, we believe we're not getting down to the real core wound in that situation. We're not coming into the experience of this belief that we're not lovable. We're going through a lot of more surface emotional experiences to try and prove how lovable and emotional we are. If we inflate, we can also become quite clingy and touchy-feely towards other people. And again, this can be a little bit uncomfortable for other people, or can cause them to want to push us away a little bit. They sense the inauthenticity of it. Because of course we don't need to try and prove that we're lovable. And such a person is kind of overcompensating for this belief that they can't connect, that they're not lovable. Inflated feeling body energy can come out in our very bodies. It can express as illness. It can express in our body posture, in our body language. Post-traumatic stress disorder, we believe, is a form of inflated feeling body energy, where trauma has been stored inside our bodies and then it bursts out and it overwhelms us. Addictions also lie here. It's as if we're trying to make a connection with something other than another warm, live human being. We connect to alcohol, we connect to substances, we connect to pornography. But because we don't get a real connection when we try to connect to these things, we never really satisfy that wound and get the connection that we're longing for. Then we keep going back and we keep going back. And that's what creates this compulsive and continuous nature of addictions. So the other opportunity, if we get this message, is rather than to inflate, to deflate and completely believe that we're not lovable. We can just become very dry, very stoic. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't I don't really know why I'd want a relationship. We can become very lonely, very disconnected. And we can also start to shame feeling body qualities when we see them in other people, because we've put that side of ourselves into shadow. So we may shame people who are very warm and very loving, or very spontaneous, or who enjoy their bodies. So as with all these shadow sides, quite often we flip from the inflated to the deflated, and we change between the two. We don't necessarily stay in just one form of this shadow.
What is the healing message for the feeling body, and what tools do you use to bring this energy back into balance?
Well, the healing message for the feeling body is you are lovable. I enjoy connecting with you, and I enjoy being loved by you. If we can really hear and receive that message, then we can start to heal our wounded feeling body energy. So the way that we work with feeling body in shadow work is largely through the body. We'll support you in getting in touch with what you're feeling in your body, where those sensations and feelings live, and we'll help you to be able to sit with those and experience those. We often work with metaphor, so we'll help you to find a metaphor for what you're experiencing, like a lump in my throat, or a dagger through my heart, or butterflies in my belly. And once we've found a metaphor, we'll then work with that part of you to help to heal the energy and the trauma that's living in that bodily part of yourself. Another way that we work with feeling body energy is working with wounds that have come about when we've lost somebody and found a very painful way of staying connected to them. Often when we lose people painfully, we can stay connected to them through very painful and difficult behaviors, thoughts and feelings. So we can help you to grieve that loss of connection, to grieve that person. And once you've fully grieved, you're then free to give back this painful way of remembering them and to choose instead a more joyful way of staying connected to that person. And in this way, we can help to heal your feeling body energy.